Year 3, 2025, looks to be the last year of the Chicago street race, and we have seen a huge impact that it's had on NASCAR in different ways and different things that have changed through the years. And I kind of wanted to look at those. There's some good, there's some bad, but I think every event has that, and I think there should be a fair shake at the overall scope. And if there's another race next year, well, maybe this is stuff to do better on or stuff to improve on. I think the biggest short-term impact that this race has had is that it introduced and created the career in NASCAR of Shane van Gisbergen. Shane van Gisbergen, or SVG, winning the Cup race in 2023 was a huge deal for a lot of reasons. He came in his first start and upset the best stock car drivers in America. And he did that with the Project 91 car that Trackhouse had. A car that's had some reasonable speed and success before and after, but nothing to this caliber. What this did was open the door and show that if he could do this on the first go round, imagine how good he could be getting more accustomed to these cars and these tracks, and in doing so, he could probably replicate it and be a threat every year to qualify Trackhouse into the playoffs, and of course get that extra money they desperately would need. And you could argue that had he not done so well and won in 2023, he may not have even pursued a full-time NASCAR career, only coming over every now and then as a ringer. Instead, he is basically doing what Marcus Ambrose aspired to do. Come over, be good enough as he can, at least on the intermediates and ovals, and be the most fearsome driver on road courses in NASCAR. In 2025, it is now impossible to think of a NASCAR Cup Series or the last couple years with the Xfinity Series as well without Shane van Gisbergen being in it and without Shane van Gisbergen dominating these kind of races. Another thing this has done is it's shown NASCAR can bring their product to new masses and to the people. Let's be honest, Chicago is not some great bastion of NASCAR fandom. I remember living around the area and around the state line in the early 2000s when NASCAR was at its biggest, and it never was that big of a deal, even in Chicago. You'd see a poster every now and then of maybe Dale Jr. or Jeff Gordon, but nothing more. Nobody really cared in Chicago sports media about it, but you came in and you had to make them care and talk about it. And hell, even during the Cubs-Cards game, they were talking about the Chicago street race. Yet many now in and around Chicago have seen that, you know what, they can take a flyer on NASCAR. It's a good show, and it's something that they can maybe aspire to look for in the years to come. If it doesn't come back to Chicago, there are races that are pretty close in the vicinity of the country for NASCAR. There's Iowa, for instance, Indianapolis, and if it comes back, Chicagoland Speedway. If anything, the most positive thing to be taken from all of this is that NASCAR can now dive into the unknown and know they can make it work. Even with all the cards stacked against them, they are able to make an event that is a world-class event and can compete not only with other racing series like IndyCar and Formula One, but also with other stick and ball sports, baseball, basketball, hockey. These are sports and sport leagues that have a really homegrown and just entrenched fan base in this area, and you made those fans care about racing for at least a weekend. The biggest thing I think that this race showed over 3 years is that weather can make or break events for NASCAR, and they need to be cognizant of the weather patterns in the areas they're going and the times of day they happen. Listen, I've lived in Northern Illinois my whole life up until a couple years ago, and I can tell you in the middle of June, July, and August, 1, it's really damn hot. 2, it's really damn humid. And 3, having your races late in the afternoon like NBC did is the perfect way that you get lightning and rain delays, because that is the time of day it rains most in this part of the country at this part of the year. The 2023 Xfinity race was destroyed by the generationally bad weather, as was the Cup race until they made it work, but it had to be shortened that same year. But it was just right for an SVG upset, so everything turned out all right. 2024 was shortened even more due to rain and darkness and everything having to do with that. And this year they moved it back and they finally got a Cup race that was rain-free. And with that too, they also had this issue where they had the rain coming in right at the end when they normally would have been starting. Another thing we can bring up too is the 2025 race was a masterclass in sloppy officiating. There was a lot of sloppy officiating with spins or different things like that throughout the race, and those were little nitpicks we can probably have with any road course, and I'm not really too upset with that. There were two major incidents though that I think need major reviewing, and I get that there's excuses given for them, that they didn't see them or they thought that the cars could get rolling. But I think, again, if you're going to have cautions and there's big events, you need to err on the side of safety and fairness with it all, because the way that this race ended up being pissed a lot of people rightfully off. For instance, Josh Berry had a ton of damage. He was beached, tried to get going, couldn't make it work. It was clear as day to anybody watching. NASCAR let the field race around him for 2 laps. 2 laps on a pretty long and time-consuming road course. And in my opinion, that's just a little bit too far. They need to at least have 1 lap less, probably more, but they just need to be quicker on the button. We've seen this issue pop up a ton in the last couple of years. It's been almost a staple of the 2020s of slow and poor officiating. And nothing was worse in this race than Cody Ware completely eating it into the tire barrier. Clear as day that he's stuck, and they waited, according to Jeff Gluck, to throw the yellow for 35 seconds, which was the difference between having a possible green flag finish with an overtime, which is not preferable, but if you're having overtime, you might as well use it, and having a race end under yellow, which I'm surprised they didn't just let them race another lap around Cody Ware in that. And I think the biggest thing we've learned is that Chicago and probably a lot of cities around America will never fully embrace NASCAR the way that NASCAR wants them to. This was something we saw on full display, and the mixed reception was, I think, something that everybody could see coming. Some, like Michael Edwards of the Chicago Loop Alliance, seemed to want it back and seemed very open-minded to it. Drivers like Denny Hamlin and Kyle Larson seemed genuinely happy about this event and wanted it back as well. Kyle Larson, I think, said it was the most fun event of the year for him, and he hasn't really been all that successful at it. And also, there are those on the other end. The current mayor has been very abrasive in his reaction to the race outside of pretty much his 2024 visit, which was more or less probably a photo op than anything else. Let's be honest, we're dealing with politicians here. And others, like for instance, those at the Chicago Sun-Times, have vocally and immaturely pushed against this race and done everything they can. And so many in the media there have done this too, have done so much that they can to ensure that this race would fail. Same with government officials, same with those at the museum claiming it would hurt art, because I'm sorry, they think that everyone is a dumbass and thinks that sound waves will hurt a painting. I mean, it was insane to me. As somebody who was vocally against this race to start and willing to watch it go through and say, you know what, it ended up being for the most part a success for NASCAR, this was ridiculous to me. And it more or less made me actually root for the race and want it to do better. Local businesses also complained about it a lot, though some did also embrace them too. Overall, many of the people in power in Chicago when this race started are gone. Lori Lightfoot, for instance, the one who threw a Hail Mary trying to get this as part of a re-election bid, gone. She's not here, as well as a lot of others in her administration or in her cabinet or whatever they call it. And at this point, you have to kind of think that they seem to be more and more wanting to just try and get an F1 race there. It probably fits the culture better, and a lot of people, unfairly, have preconceived misconceptions about NASCAR. It's unfortunate, but at this rate, it probably is time to move on before you overstay your welcome and have something like the LA Coliseum, where it's clear as day they need to be gone. So again, there was plenty of positive to be had out of these 3 races, and there was also plenty of negative or pushback on it. Now I want to know what you think. Let me know what you thought of the Chicago Street Race. Do you want it back? Did you like it? Are you good with it being gone? Where would they go next in a street race? Let me know all of that down in the comments below of what you thought. While you're at it, leave a like in this video, share this video, and subscribe to this channel for more great and fun NASCAR content. Thank you so much to all my channel members for your continued support. Until next time, have a good one.